Welcome to Basic Brewing Video. I'm James Spencer.
I'm Steve Wilkes.
A few months ago, we stood in these very spots.
That's right.
And you made a challenge to me. Do you remember what that challenge was?
It was to brew with 22-ounce jar of sorghum molasses from Cane Hill, Arkansas.
That's right.
Yeah.
They grow the sugar cane there, and they press it, and they boil it down. They actually make molasses.
Yes. It's quite the ritual.
In Cane Hill, which is not far from here.
No, very close.
So the challenge was to take this little jar of, was it 22 ounces?
22-ounce jars.
Okay.
I remember that, yeah.
So anyway, it was to take this molasses and brew something with it.
That's right.
So who wants to go first? We both have brewed something.
Yeah. Well, mine has an M, and yours has an MM.
Or W and W.
Yes, unless we got the wrong thing, in which case I've got the W. But why don't I go first? Because I have a feeling that mine, we should go from less alcoholic to more alcoholic.
Okay.
That's what I know.
Yes.
Okay.
I've given him a hint at what I've done.
Yeah, that's all I know. I just know that I shouldn't drink a lot of this. It's why he had me get this glass.
Oh, by the way, back in the background, that pot is barbecue sauce.
That's right. It's not pot.
No. Well, it is a pot, but it's not. There's no pot in the pot.
Well, you don't know. I told you there was a secret ingredient.
If this is Colorado, maybe.
Right.
But no, you're making barbecue sauce for our bonus episode.
Oh
this
my
year.
gosh!
And for those who go to basicbrewing.com/support and subscribe or make a donation, later on when it's edited, you'll get an email.
Yeah.
With not only the video of us doing this smoked roast with the barbecue sauce and all that stuff, but you'll get a PDF with the recipe. So,
absolutely.
Quick plug over. Okay, so tell us about your beer.
Well, it's molasses, and you know molasses is generally brewed. They use it to make gluten-free beers, right? Mm. Well, this is a gluten-free beer. You're not supposed to drink a lot of it.
Or is it glutton-full?
Glutton-full. This is I brewed basically an ESB with my molasses.
Oh my!
I brewed a 5-gallon batch. I'll give you the ingredients. But I'm calling it an English ESB, though it's got some American ingredients as well. So it has 6 pounds of Maris Otter, 1 pound of Victory, 22 ounces of Ozark sorghum molasses. Let's see here, the hop build, or the hop schedule was 1 ounce of Fuggles at 60 minutes, 1 ounce of EKG at 30 minutes, and 1 ounce of EKG at 5 minutes.
This is a 5-gallon or 19-liter batch, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm. And I let the mash rest at 150 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever that is, for 60 minutes.
So pretty standard.
It's very standard.
And the yeast?
And the yeast is USO5.
So what's the ABV of this?
5.3.
Wow. It is very, very tasty. You can taste the molasses.
Yeah.
It really comes through. And it's not a kind of Belgian candy sugar type thing, but there is a sweetness there. But the hops balance it nicely.
I added the molasses toward the end of the boil, just long enough to make sure that it didn't have any critters in it. I don't know if molasses does or not. You know, honey generally doesn't, but I would. And
well, they probably can't grow in it.
That's what I mean. But nonetheless, I added it just long enough to let it sanitize, but not boil all the volatile oils out. So that's my beer. You like it?
It is delicious.
It came out really well.
I could drink that all day.
Well, that can be arranged.
We might. This is at the beginning of our consuming. Okay, I can't take the straight and narrow, easy road. I got to go wacky.
You got to,
especially with a challenge like this.
And usually, I'm the one that goes wacky.
That is correct.
I went very safe.
That's right, and it turned out very well. Okay, now mine is a molasses mead.
Oh my.
Now,
I didn't know that.
I went out to Lincoln, Arkansas, near Cane Hill, and I got 2 big old jars of Northwest Arkansas honey.
So this is locally sourced.
Locally sourced.
I'm a locally sourced drunk.
So
I like that.
So
how lush was my valley? Or I'm a lush in the valley. like Paul Lind all of a sudden. Oh!
The lush life. Okay, so what I did was I heated up a gallon of water to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, just so I could get the honey all liquidy. And I poured both jars in, and I weighed them, and both jars came out to be 5.6 pounds of honey, or 2.5 kilograms. And to that I added the 1.4 pounds, or 624 grams of Ozark molasses. And then what I wanted to do was to reach a gravity of 1.125, a starting gravity. So what I did was I just added water and took hydrometer readings until I reached that. So I wound up adding to that 1 gallon of water 6 cups of water. So that it wound up being 5.2 liters of water added to all that sugary stuff. Mm-hmm. So our starting gravity was around 1.120. Now, here's the fun part. For yeast, I took 2 packages of Fleischmann's Active Dry Bread Yeast.
Really? Well, aren't you adventurous?
And I rehydrated that in some water, and then I added that into the mead, the must, excuse me.
Yeah.
And then I added to that a 1/2 teaspoon of yeast nutrient as well. And I shook the heck out of that and aerated it. And let's try it. While you're opening it, I want to tell you what happened. That thing, it took off right away. And my plan was to do a full 2 teaspoons of yeast nutrient over time, do a staggered yeast nutrient. So I added that 1/2 teaspoon right at pitching. Then 24 hours later, I added another 1/2 teaspoon. The next day, active fermentation was pretty much over.
Wow, and you had pizza dough. Just like that.
Don't use the yeast with oregano. Now, so a few days later, I didn't put any more yeast nutrient because I didn't want there to be extra yeast nutrient that didn't get eaten up in the must or in the mead. So I wound up bottling 3 weeks later.
That's amazing.
And it went down from 1.120 to 1.020.
Hey, yeah.
So I figured out what the 81.8% apparent attenuation that bread yeast did. So it is 13.6% alcohol.
I gotta get ready for this.
I want to see what you think. Cheers.
Cheers. It's beautiful. Smells familiar. Oh my gosh.
How's that?
That is delicious, James. That is really good.
Now, I say it's a dessert mead because it is pretty sweet.
It's very sweet.
But I think with food, especially dessert, and a small serving like this, I think it's wonderful.
And it's not cloying. I've had some show meads that I just thought were, they're just so gloppy, cloyingly sweet. This is not. It's very sweet, but it's in a very pleasant, like really well-made candy. Doesn't bug you. Whereas like Laffy Taffy, you're just like, holy crap, what's that? And this is like the really well-made candy. Very nice.
And the bread yeast did a great job.
It did a great job.
I
don't get any weird.
There's no weirdness. If you remember, in San Diego, we tasted that experiment that Tim Lieber did with the bread yeast, and he compared the bread yeast against the 71B wine yeast. We preferred the bread yeast.
Yeah, we did.
So I took this and pitched a whole bunch of it, and I think it came out pretty tasty.
It came out great. Now I'm going to say something here that maybe my brain is inventing, because it'll do that.
All right.
I can almost taste a little bit of breadiness in it, and it's a very good thing. There's a little bit of, like, I want to taste that kind of good French bread taste. I can almost pick it up. Maybe I'm just inventing that flavor.
Either that, or when I bottled it, it was still pretty cloudy. And I think if I wanted to refine it more, I would have let more of the yeast settle out. So you might actually be tasting a little bit of the yeast.
Well, that's what I mean.
Because it's still a little bit cloudy.
It's got that little bit of a yeast.
And in the car over it got shaken up a little bit.
But it's a good thing. It's really nice.
But there are no yeast off flavors. There's no nastiness. The one thing, this is the Molasses Challenge, I'm going to have to give my vote to your beer, though. Because I think this is more about the honey. and I don't get the molasses characteristics. It didn't change the character very much. I think that your beer shows off the molasses flavor better than my mead shows off the molasses flavor.
Well, I agree with that, but I'm going to give the vote to your mead because it's just stunningly good. I would have never have thought to have done that with it. I didn't have I really and truly, when I issued the challenge, I was like, what am I going to do with this? So, well, that's great. So we tied.
There you go.
Everyone's a winner. We're
Everyone's
all
a winner.
winners.
And now we got more mead to drink.
Yes, and more beer.
So, happy holidays, Steve.
Happy holidays to you too.
Happy holidays to everybody out there. Thanks for sticking with us for another year.
Can you believe it?
We can't wait until 2016.
Neither can the police, by the way. They're on their way over.
Uber.
That's right.
So, thank you, Steve. Thanks, everybody, and Happy New Year.
And happy brewing.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Come and visit us on the web. At basicbrewing.com, you can find archive lists of both our audio and video podcasts on home brewing. You can also find our DVDs, Extract Brewing and Partial Mashing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, Introduction to Wine Kits, and our Basic Brewing Brewer's Logbook, where you can track and log up to 50 batches of beer. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Write to James at basicbrewing.com, Steve at basicbrewing.com, or just use the contact form on basicbrewing.com.
This is my lavender ginger beer. I mean mead. Ooh. And it's settled out again. This is some of the lavender.
What's that's name?
That's Eddie.
Don't swirl it up. You have an Eddie.
And this is from Redstone Meadery, though.
Right.
We went out there all those years ago. I've saved
it.
And this has been spiked with a little bit of Cointreau.
Ooh.
So see what you think about this. This is my cordial.
This is bonus content after the credits.
Yeah, this is post bonus content.
Ooh. Smells orangey.
Yeah, that's the Cointreau in it. So I put 2 shots of Cointreau in this, and then I topped it with the mead.
Ooh.
At bottling. And then
cheers.
Didn't know that I still had some sediment, but that's okay.
That is tasty. It's really light after
very light.
After that. This is going to be a fun day.
Yes, it is.
Woo!